How we doing? Evan and Tiki here on the Fan. It is a very, very busy Tuesday. The New York Yankees get set to welcome in their children, the Minnesota Twins, to Yankee Stadium for a big three-game series. We'll get to that later. Jalen Brunson completely agrees with me. Thank you, Jalen.
Even though he's wrong.
We'll get to that later. Another edition of Posted and Toasted coming up at 3:30. But sometimes civil wars start when you least expect it. Sometimes the fighting begins, and you don't even remember why you're fighting. So I want to warn Tiki Barber, Sean Morash, myself, Loogie, and everybody listening. We're all brothers and sisters, and we all love each other. But things may get very personal today. Things may get very ugly today. And sometimes civil wars and wars in general start in ways that you just can't see coming. Like, who would have guessed that a civil war amongst Jet and Giant fans would start on a very popular podcast known as the $1 Million Worth of Game? But that's exactly what happened. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the first shot in the Civil War, a very simple question asked by the host of said podcast.
If you had to pick a career to have, I'm going to have Aaron Rodgers' career or I'm going to have Eli Manning's career. Who career are you taking?
Oh, God. You could just, you could feel like...
Oh, it's so charged.
So you could feel it winding up because here's the deal, bro. Aaron Rodgers has barely played a game as a member of the New York Jets. Yeah, Jet fans almost feel like Aaron Rodgers is us. He's ours.
Yeah,
He's
you're
our
claiming
guy.
him. You're claiming him.
And I hear that question, and we'll all answer it, but I actually find the question to be offensive. Like, what a dumb question. How could anyone ever in their mind suggest they would take the career of Eli Manning over Aaron Rodgers?
What do you mean?
What do I mean?
Well, okay, you're making it seem as if this is a no-brainer. First of all, C.J. Stroud, who was asked this question.
And we'll listen to his answer coming up in just a minute. Go ahead.
Should have said, I will take my career. Oh. There is no reason to
pick a side?
Pick a side. Right, from a guy who, I mean, who hosts this podcast?
The $1 Million Worth of Game is hosted by a rapper and by a social media influencer.
Exactly. Nobody who ever put on a jockstrap, at least not on a professional level. Nobody who ever took a shot from a 250-pound linebacker and had to get up and go do it all over again. Nobody who sat in endless meetings and learned countless designs of plays and figured out how to win on a gridiron. Nobody has any respect in the game itself. Maybe as a fan.
Yes.
I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about from actually doing it.
Yes.
And so when you ask somebody who actually played the game,
yes,
what career would you have? You say my own.
Okay, well, before...
You do not start comparing guys who, first of all, you didn't play with in a completely different era. You may have been a fan of them when you were younger, but you don't know their journeys.
Now, before we get Tiki's answer, because my answer is obvious, I'm offended by the question. It's actually one of the dumbest questions I've ever heard. I mean, I can't imagine how a human being would take Eli Manning's career over Aaron Rodgers' career. The question was posed to C.J. Stroud. Here is C.J. Stroud's answer, which, again, is like the fifth shot now in his civil war that's about to begin between all of us.
You want the rings, dog. You don't want
That's all that matters, the rings.
Eli got two.
Guess what fans don't celebrate? MVP trophies. We don't give a fuck about that. That's for you, buddy, to sit at your crib.
Yeah, I feel that.
We give a fuck about rings.
Yeah. All right. So C.J. Stroud gave the incorrect answer.
I can't tell if he was sitting there uncomfortable or not.
Based on the $1 million worth of games reaction, which C.J. made it clear. He said Eli Manning.
Takes the rings.
But okay, that's his reasoning behind Eli Manning, but he said Eli Manning, which you're saying, hey, as an athlete, that was a mess up to begin with. You can't answer the question.
Don't say I'll take my career. You're not gonna have Eli Manning's career. You're not gonna have Aaron Rodgers' career. It may be better.
Maybe.
Both of them.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe.
But you just don't. This is just advice. Don't answer the question because you don't need to.
Well,
you are a rising superstar in the league. You're not there yet. You got to do it consistently. Mm-hmm. You're a rising superstar in the league. You do not need to put yourself in the middle of a war.
Well, yeah.
That it's about to create, that you're about to create here on WFAN.
I didn't create anything.
You did. Now, the answer is obvious.
What?
The answer is Eli because Eli.
Oh, Tiki.
Hold on. Eli has been, and always will be the consummate teammate, the ultimate professional, the guy who just did his job. It wasn't about anything else. It wasn't about creating a brand for myself, even though he has subsequently done that after making $300 and something million as a player and winning 2 championships. It wasn't about look at me, I'm going to stand and be quotable. It was, I am just going to win. And it might be tedious at times. There are going to be some hardships. There's going to be some grinds. There's going to be some negativity that's going to float around me. But you know what? I'm going to show up and do my job every day. And that's who Eli is. And as a teammate of Eli, which I once was, that's the kind of guy you want. Not someone who maybe he's going to show up for OTAs. He's doing it now, to his credit, for the Jets. Maybe he's going to tutor the young guys. Maybe is going to be healthy at 40 years old for your Jets team. Eli was always there, right? So to me, it's a no-brainer. He's got the 2 championships and the 2 MVPs, Super Bowl MVPs, which matter more than I'd say the regular season MVPs, because it's about the championship.
But when you have a discussion on who are the greatest quarterbacks in the history of football,
oh yeah, Eli is far behind.
Well, he's never in that discussion.
He's far behind Aaron Rodgers. But that's
exactly
not the point.
Well,
why do you play team sports? Right, we're watching the College World Series right now. Oklahoma versus Florida. Florida beat that ass yesterday. But Oklahoma, who is perennially awesome, they won a championship last year. We're watching this right now. Why are they playing this game? Right? Why does Brooklyn, my 10-year-old, go to CJA Cheer in Kenilworth, New Jersey, and try to win championships? Why? Because it's a team. You compete and you win
but
as a
don't
team.
You also try
the individual accolades? They come when success happens for everybody. Like, it's great to win it. Would you want to win an MVP and be the worst team in the league?
No, but Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl.
I understand that.
That's the problem with this. People act like he hasn't won anything.
This is why
he won a Super Bowl.
This is why C.J. Stroud should not have answered this question, because it creates this division amongst elites, right? So what are we talking about, right? Give me another example that's more relevant. Right, that's more.
No, but you're feeding into it because you said
diverse.
But Teague, you feeding into it by saying, well, because that whole winning thing. Because I know what you were getting at. Hey, why do you play team sports? You play team sports to win.
Yes.
Eli Manning won 2 championships. I take nothing away from him. He was a huge part of both, especially with the way he played in the postseason. But let's not act like the guy we're comparing him to never won anything.
I agree, which is why, again, C.J. Stroud should not have answered this question.
But forget C.J. Stroud. You answered the question.
Because well, I answered the question because Eli Manning was my teammate.
So you're admitting you're doing it because Eli was your teammate.
Eli was my teammate.
I respect that.
Eli was the guy I went to battle with for 3 years. Right? He was young, but he learned, and he was great. And he's an awesome dude to be around. So it's Eli for me. I never played with Aaron Rodgers.
So you're admitting there's a bias in your answer.
Of course there's a bias.
Fine.
There's a bias in any answer. My point is, why even ask this guy? It's an uninformed question to ask. Right? Because both of them are unbelievable. Both of them have more money than they'll ever need. Generations will be taken care of because of the job that they did on Sunday afternoons. And so C.J. Stroud simply shouldn't have answered the question. Right? He should have put them in their place by saying, that's not what this game is about. This game is about achieving individual success, but ultimately it's about winning and team success.
I will give C.J. Stroud this. If I'm a Houston Texans fan, I like that the answer is all I care about is winning. Because obviously, as a fan, that's what we care the most about. How often can you win? Can you win the most times possible? Obviously, as a fan for one of the teams in this town, the Jets, most of us, unless you're over the age of 65, we've never seen the team win.
Right.
So I get it from a fan perspective, but if we're being intellectually honest, like if we take a step back from what we want to hear players say, or we take a step back from being a teammate of a guy and respecting that guy, and we're just being honest with ourselves, one guy is in the discussion as one of the great quarterbacks to ever play the game. The other guy, while really good,
got 2 championships.
He's not even a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Got 2 championships.
And I respect that.
Okay,
well, what does that mean?
He's got 2 championships.
So that's the end-all, be-all?
Well, if you're a quarterback, isn't it? Is that what you ultimately are going to be remembered for?
So would you rather have the career of Trent Dilfer or Dan Marino, Teague? I mean, come on, you want to play that game? Let's play. We'll go deeper on it. Would you really rather have the career of Trent Dilfer than Dan Marino because he won a championship and Dan didn't?
So this is where it gets dicey, because you could ask me the question, Would I have rather have won a championship or had the career that I had? Right? All-time leading rusher, all the things that I did.
So a lesser career.
A lesser career.
But you win.
But I win a championship.
What would you have said?
Would it have been of value to me?
What would you have said?
I would have said, I'll take the career that I had.
So then you agree with me. That's what that proves.
Not really. Not really.
Yes, it does. But your answer, which, by the way, as much as we may argue about this and fight about this, you are one of the only guys, Boomer too, I guess, obviously, who can answer that question from a personal basis.
Right.
From okay, you had a great NFL career. Both you guys did. Would you have traded that, became still really good but not as good, but you win a championship?
If I don't have the career that I had, I'm not doing what I do now.
That's a fair answer.
I'm not host afternoon drive on WFAN. I'm not calling games for CBS. I don't have the post-career life I have if I didn't have this career. Would it have been enhanced if I'd won a championship? Maybe. Probably not, to be honest with you. It'd probably be the same. And so I don't see the championship as vital for my legacy. It is vital for quarterbacks' legacies. And it ultimately becomes how many can you stack when you start talking about the quarterback.
But you know what the other issue I have with this whole thing? Like, let's not shortchange the Giants' 2 Super Bowls with Eli Manning. Eli played a huge part of it, especially the way he played in the postseason. But their pass rush was a big reason why.
Of course.
A big reason.
Defensively, they were amazing.
Unbelievable. And I've said this about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers never had elite-level defenses, ever. So when we say, well, but Eli won twice, if we're being fair about it, he was helped out by having better teams around him than ultimately what Aaron Rodgers had.
What was the first thing I said when we started having this conversation? C.J. Stroud should not have answered that question. I want my career. And why? Because it marginalizes everything else that happens in a team sport. Everything.
Right.
If you're going to say, oh, well, Eli Manning had a better career than Aaron Rodgers because he has 2 championships, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And so to even ask the question it's asinine. It doesn't even calculate in the mind, or it shouldn't in the mind of someone who's actively doing it right now. Right? C.J. Stroud should know this. I want my career. I'm not comparing Eli and Aaron Rodgers' career. They're both great players. We want championships. Ultimately, hopefully he wins one.
Broken Sean Morash, are you feeling less broken today?
Well, I mean, we're actually talking about when we actually did win championships in this town, so I'll partake.
By the way, speaking of broken Sean Morash, coming up today at exactly 4:30, you're going to want to set your clock. The debut of a brand new single called Broken Morash. That's coming up at 4:30 today. Now, your thoughts.
You know what that song won't win? A Grammy, because nobody wins in this town. What I will tell you is this, Evan. It's actually diminishing to Eli Manning to even suggest you'd rather have Aaron Rodgers' career. What I mean by that is that it's insulting to compare the Trent Dilfer, Dan Marino thing, because what's inevitably going to happen here is Eli Manning is going to the Hall of Fame. May not be first ballot, but he is going. He retired top 10 all-time in touchdown passes, in passing yards. Yes, Aaron Rodgers, hear me, Jet fans, is the more talented quarterback, pillar to post in his career. But Eli Manning wasn't some schlub. He is also going to be a Hall of Famer. So would C.J. Stroud rather have Zach Diassi's career, who was a good long snapper, or Aaron Rodgers? Obviously Aaron Rodgers. But if I'm picking between 2 Hall of Famers and saying I'll take the less MVPs and a couple less
Don't use the word slight, by the way, because that's a mistake. If you use the word slight, you're screwing up, bro.
We're talking about Aaron Rodgers, top 8 quarterback of all time. Eli Manning, a top 25 quarterback of all time. You could call it like it is. It's not as big a drop-off as you think. Give me the guy who won more rings. Well, okay. And I think it's belittling him to even put him in the Trent Dilfer conversation.
No. And here's the mistake that you're making. How many times, we know Eli's won 2 Super Bowls. We all respect him. How many times has Eli Manning quarterbacked his team into the postseason? Do you know the number of that? You know the exact number?
5?
5. Sounds about right. 2016. I think 5 is a good number. 4 or 5. Aaron Rodgers, how many times has he quarterbacked his team to the postseason?
10?
Yeah.
Does that not count?
Probably more than that.
Okay, but Evan, now this is where I will flip it around on you. You use the excuse on Aaron Rodgers not winning more championships as, well, how many times did he have the defense the Giants did? Which, by the way, the Giants' 2011 defense was not some kind of elite defense.
No, but how'd they play in the postseason? Like, you could look at regular season numbers all you want.
Now this is where I throw back at you.
Go ahead.
Eli Manning's career basically was escalated to end because he had nowhere near the offensive line Aaron Rodgers had in Green Bay. In fact, he ended up playing basically the last 4 years of his career with the worst offensive line in football. So who knows if he had that fixed on his team, if he doesn't get another championship a la 2016 or something like that. You can play this game either way. Nobody's going to have the perfect team back and forth. The fact of the matter is both guys are going to reside in the Hall of Fame. Both guys had outstanding careers, one a little better on the field than the other in the regular season, and one guy finished with more rings. You always take the more rings if those things are that
But
equal.
your rings are helped out by the roster around you. You just brought up the Giants' offensive line.
That's team sports. Evan.
Oh, exactly. So
and
then
his lack of playoffs are hurt by the roster around him, Eli
right,
Manning.
and that's why the answer is the better player. Who's the better player? Want to play that game? Who had the better career as a player and performance?
Evan.
And you can't argue this. If you argue it,
Evan.
you're a homer.
Evan, hold
argue
on.
it. Fine, go ahead.
Evan.
Tell me why he was better.
Wipe the
I'd love to hear
slate
it.
clean. They both came out 1 year after another. You're a New York Jet fan. Everything about Aaron Rodgers' career is true in terms of MVPs and 1 Super Bowl. Everything about Eli Manning's career is true. Less playoff appearances, no MVPs, 2 Super Bowls. You are a New York Jets fan, and you get to pick one at the beginning of their career, and you know that exact career happens for your franchise. Who are you taking?
You're taking Eli.
Here's the problem with the
He knows it.
No,
he
no,
won't even
of course
answer
he
it.
is.
Because the answer's
he's
Eli. You
shooting
want
down-
Eli's career.
He's shooting down your answer, your question, because he knows what the answer
He knows
is.
I have him. You're taking Eli.
because I'm winning 2 Super Bowls?
Yes.
Is that but like you acknowledge you need the rest of your roster. So you're telling me when I decide on Eli, I'm also getting Justin Tuck, right? When I decide on Eli, I'm also getting Michael Strahan, right?
Sure. And you're also getting
then
Donald Driver and Greg Jennings.
Sean, I acknowledge who
and
Aaron
Clay
Rodgers.
Matthews.
I acknowledge who Aaron Rodgers had. We acknowledge who Eli Manning had. One thing that helped out Eli get the 2 rings that Aaron only got 1 is that in those years, there were guys around him that made the difference. So to just make it one versus the other, that's why it's an open and shut case.
When
one guy's better than the other. And that's not a knock on Eli Manning. I know this sounds so insulting. It's not. I hope you're not insulted, Teague.
No, not at all.
Eli was tremendous. Aaron was better.
So when Eli beat Aaron Rodgers when the Packers
don't
were
do
15
this.
and 1.
Don't do that.
The Packers were only 15 and 1 because Aaron Rodgers had nobody around them.
I never
They
said
got
that.
to 15 and 1 just because Aaron Rodgers. Nobody around him.
And don't do the head-to-head thing, because now, would you rather have Eli than Tom Brady because Eli beat him
Of course
twice?
not. By the way, Rodgers beat Eli in 2016. I'm just saying, it's not as if the Packers were only good because of Aaron Rodgers. They had pretty good teams, bro.
Right,
Go
they
back and
did.
look at them.
I'm not saying that they didn't, but a big part of why it's 2 versus 1 is some of the factors that occurred during those runs that you're minimizing and making it a one-on-one thing. Like,
All right. So if you
who's
were
the
given
better player? Just answer the question. Who had the better career as a player?
as a well, no, that's a different question.
Oh
Who had
my
more
God.
talent, Aaron Rodgers?
Yes.
Eli Manning had the better career.
If you're ranking all-time great quarterbacks, is Aaron Rodgers going to be ranked higher than Eli Manning?
Many will rank him that way.
Many will rank him that way.
But if I'm getting, but hold on.
Yes, but when you get on the list of Super Bowl champion winning quarterbacks,
Right.
Eli is going to be above Aaron Rodgers.
Either way, I'm getting a guy who ends up in the Hall of Fame, and I'm getting a guy with 1 more ring. Why wouldn't I rather have that? That's it. End of discussion. You're not getting a guy who's not making the Hall of Fame with 2 rings. You're getting both the grand platter and the extra ring. That's why the argument's easy. It's Eli.
And Tiki said Tiki, which means Tiki agrees with Evan. That's how I took it. When Tiki selected Tiki, which I agree with your answer. Like, I'm certainly no athlete, so me answering it is like crazy. Like, what would I rather take?
Yeah.
How the hell do I know? I mean, I could barely play Madden well. I have no idea what I would take. I just know that the better player is what you're going for. You're looking to be the best player possible because here's the simple math, CJ. And by the way, we're going to expose his agenda coming up in a few minutes because you asked, why do you answer the question? I got proof. I know why you answer the question. CJ Stroud has an agenda. And I'm going to expose it for all of you to hear.
He doesn't want to re-up in Houston in 3 years.
So you'll know why C.J. Stroud. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. You'll hear it. You'll hear C.J. Stroud's agenda. But bottom line is this. One guy is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay? The other guy will get there eventually. Tell me when I'm saying something that's not true.
I think they're both first ballot, by the way. Because
You can think it all you want. Do you think in next January
He is.
they're going to announce
Yes.
Eli Manning is going to the Hall
yes,
of Fame?
because of his last name, the pedigree, and every single multi-time Super Bowl MVP is a first ballot Hall of Famer, including
Tiki-
Mahomes, who's currently playing.
Tiggy, as an expert on this, as someone who's being judged in this too, as a former Hall of Fame semifinalist, you think Eli Manning gets in first ballot? Not do you want him in, because that's not the question. Do you think he gets in?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for that because I don't know what the story's going to be. Ask me in October.
The story is going to be at a career 500 record. He happened to win 2 Super Bowls.
And you got Sean saying that
He's also a Manning, and he was also great when he needed to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen.
Right? So the question is, what's the story? If you would have asked me, is Terrell Owens a first ballot Hall of Famer? It's not even a question.
Right.
He wasn't. Took him 3 years. I'm just saying. You just don't know until they start telling the story about you.
I think the story is going to be he won 2 Super Bowls. He was a career giant. He had a career 500 record,
for you,
and he
bud.
led the league in interceptions 3 times, never in touchdowns.
A lot of people who throw the ball a lot led the league in interceptions.
Has Aaron Rodgers?
No.
Does your answer change if Plaxico doesn't shoot himself and Eli has 3 rings?
Come on, dude, you could do that with anything.
Well,
in
you're the
sports.
one using the better team excuse in the team. I'm just saying, if Plaxico Burress doesn't bring a gun into a club, shoot himself in the leg, and Eli Manning now is sitting here with 3 rings, are you still taking Aaron Rodgers?
No, I probably am because I'm taking the better player.
Then you're probably an idiot.
No, I'm an idiot for saying I'm taking the better player all time.
We're sitting here 2 days.
And by the way,
And again, we're not talking about the player. We're talking about the career.
Well,
yes, it is the career.
The career,
And
exactly.
also, Sean, you didn't even answer the question when I posed it to you. If you're ranking quarterbacks,
yeah, Aaron Rodgers is the better quarterback. I'd rather have Eli Manning's career.
Okay. Who is see? You're adding stuff. Who would
No,
be
I'm not.
ranked higher all time on a great quarterback list if you're making it?
Aaron Rodgers. That's not what C.J. Stroud is talking about.
No, but that's what I'm asking you. And first you said some people would say this as opposed to just answering your own question.
It just had me be a crybaby all day yesterday because the idea is championships. I want the guy whose career is giving me the most championships. Sorry, I'm not settling for MVPs in regular season.
He's very sensitive to champions.
Not clearly.
And or not getting them.
I think we all are these days. We'll get your calls next, 888-808-1019. Plus, I give you the evidence that C.J. Stroud has an agenda against one Aaron Rodgers.